Welcome back to the weekly podcast. My name is Brian Strong, and I'll be your reporter. And we'll be talking about the stories that's happened in the last week or so. And I guess the big news is that the Trump administration has finally did a reversal on what he said when he was campaigning. Apparently, we still don't really know. It's so hard to tell. But anyway, here's what Trump said when he was running for president.
Go ahead.
What are you going to do for legalizing marijuana if people are willing to follow all of the rules 100% legally, federally, and
The marijuana thing is such a big thing. I think medical should happen, right? Don't we agree? I mean, I think so. And then I really believe you should leave it up to the states. It should be a state situation. Because, you have, like I just left Colorado, and I love Colorado, and the people are great. But there's a question as to how it's all working out there. That's not going exactly trouble-free. So I really think that we should study Colorado, see what's happening. But I believe that the legalization of marijuana, other than for medical, because I think medical, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them. But it really helps them. But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. Good question. Go ahead, over here.
Good answer. Really good answer. Very, very good answer. Very different than what this guy here says.
I'm dubious about marijuana. As states, can pass whatever laws they choose, but I'm not sure we're going to be a better, healthier nation that if we have marijuana being sold at every corner grocery store. I just don't think that's going to be good for us.
Well, right away, I got to say, Mr. Sessions, it's probably not good for us right now to have a marijuana marketplace where, gangsters who sell other things are where you go to buy your marijuana. To have marijuana sold at every corner drugstore in America would actually be a healthy thing because it would be healthy for the economy. It would create jobs. It would be better for you guys, the cops, because then you would know where the marijuana activity's at as far as the sales of the marijuana goes. And since it would be legal, you guys wouldn't have to worry about, arresting anybody for it. So the cops wouldn't be in danger by, attempting to arrest somebody for something like marijuana, as harmless as it is. The less that cops have to confront somebody with the possibility of arresting them for a felony that's going to put them in prison for several years, the better. So you're just dead. You're flat wrong on the statement that we're not going to be a healthier or better country or whatever else you want to say about it with a marijuana store on every corner. We would be a much better off country.
We'll have to work our way through that. I'd see.
Well, how about we just have one on every other corner? Is that a good way to work our way through that?
A line in the Washington Post today that I remember from the 80s.
I think you remember everything from the 80s.
This one was, if you smoke, marijuana is a cure for opiate abuse.
He's waiting for the laugh line. That was supposed to be a joke. See how he's looking? He's looking like he's laughing. Like, aha, where's the laughing? That was supposed to be some kind of a punchline to a joke. That isn't no joke, Mr. Sessions. Real situations are happening all over this country today where real people are quitting the opioids, the opiates, the heroin, the pills, the fentanyl, the patches, the mouth sprays, the suckers, Dilaudid, like all this garbage. There's no way out when you're in that. What, you going to go to the methadone clinic? You going to take some Suboxone or something? You're still in it. Marijuana is a way out for people. And that's a scientific fact. It's demonstrably provable fact. And it happens every fucking day. in this country. You know what else happens every day in this country? Unfortunately, is anywhere from 40 to 80 people per day die from opiate overdose deaths. Now, I've said this before. It's like taking just the pills, just the legal stuff that you can get from a doctor, is about 45 people a day. That's like driving a bus off of a cliff full of people every day. And these people come in all ages and sizes and shapes and colors. So that happens every day, man. And for you to sit here and joke about people getting off of opiates with marijuana, you are a fucking hypocrite. You're an asshole. And hey, listen, crickets on your fucking joke.
Give me a break. I mean, this is the kind of argument that has been made out there, to just almost a desperate attempt to defend the harmlessness of marijuana or even its benefits. I doubt that's true. Maybe science will prove I'm wrong, but at this point in time, you and I have a responsibility to use our best judgment.
Then your best judgment should tell you that this prohibition is the only problem with this marijuana situation. And, your best judgment should tell you that all you got to do is look into this, man. I just seen 4 articles today about, marijuana being a way out for opiate addicts. Opioid addiction can be, helped greatly. We'll get into that later. Anyway, you're talking about using your best judgment. 71% of the country say don't interfere with states that have legalized marijuana. 71%. If I was using my better judgment, I would definitely give a little bit more, consideration for the 71% of the country that thinks you're crazy. You're a batshit lunatic if you go after marijuana.
Which we've learned over a period of years, and speak truth as best we can.
Okay, well, what we've learned over a period of 80 years is that prohibition of marijuana has not worked. You're locking up the citizens of this country. You're ruining their future with, records that say they have a felony for marijuana, whatever. And, if you're using that, in the last 40 years, spent $2 trillion, locked up over 1 million people or more. I don't remember the exact number, but it's a lot. And you have nothing to show for it. What do you have to show for it? You don't have anything as the federal government standing there talking shit. You don't have nothing to show for it. You got marijuana is more potent than it was 40 years ago when they started the ramp up. They made the war on drugs. So you got the marijuana. It's more potent, more available. It's grown in this country now instead of imported from around the world. Everything you tried to do, eradicate it, whatever. None of it worked. You have nothing to show for. The only thing you have to show for is that the states in America are moving forward without you. So you're basically you're stuck in the past. The 80s. The 80s are over, man. Jeff Sessions is just trying his hardest to cling on to anything that he can to justify his actions if his actions are going to be enforcement. Because, basically, let's face it, people, the Republicans are always the party for law and order. They're the party that the police side with. They're the party that the police vote for. They're the party that, let's face it, the police unions are basically Republicans. And when it comes to the Republic or the police, they're the ones that are pushing the politicians around, and the prison lobbyists. Obviously, they're pushing them around too, because they just got rid of Obama's whatever it was on, ending private prison funding from the federal government eventually. Well, they didn't like that, so then they're also like, well, we want to continue to get paid to put asses in cells. And one of the ways we do that effectively is marijuana. So I don't know what you're talking about, Sessions. you should have learned your lesson that prohibition doesn't do anything but it creates a black market. And then it's dangerous. Now you got the police trying to play cops and robbers with people selling marijuana, and you got people selling marijuana turning into gangsters and doing stupid shit like you're talking about, running into drug debts and then getting violent about it.
Best view is that we don't need to be legalizing marijuana, and we
Yes,
need
we
to
do.
crack down more effectively on heroin.
When he says crack down more effectively on heroin, I don't have any idea what he's talking about there. They don't crack down on heroin as it is. Hell, our U.S. Armed Forces are stationed in Afghanistan, in case you forgot. We've been there for like 15 or so more years. And the only justified reason that anybody has as to why we're there is to protect the heroin crops. So what kind of cracking down are you doing on heroin? We haven't seen any crackdown on heroin. But if you want to get rid of the gateway drug to heroin, crack down on pharmaceutical companies dumping like dump truck loads full of pills on every town in this country. I mean, they at this time they prescribe enough opiates so that everybody in this country could have 4 doses a day. Everybody in this country don't take opiates, but yet there's that many of them prescribed every year in this country now. We have that big of an opioid problem. And you're sitting here talking shit about marijuana where nobody's addicted to it. You don't have anybody at some kind of addiction center freaking out because they need to get clean from marijuana. You don't have, people dying from overdoses of marijuana. None of that happens. You have a problem with people getting arrested for marijuana. That's the only problem you have.